first of all, tell you something about the motivation, why I gave a seminar on this topic. Before that, I'll give you one example. Yesterday was our first day of the conference, and we had a very sumptuous inauguration. No less than a Minister of Education was invited, and I was happy that he came. He himself is an Oxford graduate, a well-known poet also. And when he agreed to come to inaugurate the conference, I was very much impressed by the fact that such a busy man has afforded some time for us and will be gracing the occasion. And I also at the same time thought that our purpose of inviting a chief guest of that stature will be fulfilled, and we will have a very good coverage in the newspapers. When I say coverage in the newspapers, it is the coverage of in the newspapers of the event, that is the International Pure Mathematics Conferences, promotion and projection of mathematics that we love so much, and that has become part of our lives, even so much that it affects our social lives, our family lives. We discuss our tensions, we discuss our happiness with our friends, with our family members, even though they don't understand even ABC of mathematics. So you can imagine how mathematics is affecting our lives. That is our life. So yesterday, when I tried to look at the news, and I was hoping that there will be some news about the conference itself. Yes, there was a news. They showed for a few seconds the dais where all 5 people were sitting, and they focused for a short while more on the chief executive, understandable, and after that quickly they went through the audience. Within the few seconds that was also finished, but they did not mention even a single word about what this activity was about. They had an interview, a very short interview of the Minister of Education outside the building when he was about to leave, and they sought my permission also for that as a courtesy. I was very impressed by the fact that there is this person from Geo Television who has the courtesy to ask for my permission to interview the Minister of Education for his purposes. When he did that, I thought that this interview will be kept from the conference itself. But when I saw that news on the television, I was not only upset, but it also made me realize that our television people do this kind of trick. The picture was on display. Not a single word was mentioned about the conference or the very purpose of holding these conferences. They were just mentioning that the minister has said something about the fake degrees vis-a-vis HEC and all that. So there was no mention at all of the conference. This kind of thing I've experienced before also. Our people, which includes the government and a layman, they do not understand, understandably, what mathematics is about. Only, of course, mathematicians will know what it is about. But then at least when we compare ourselves with physicists, when we compare ourselves with biologists and chemists, we find ourselves not as popular as we should be. It's a very ancient branch. It's a branch of ancient. It's an ancient branch of knowledge, and it is almost everywhere. I just give you one example, that if you want to get a graduate degree from Oxford, they require you to do mathematics first. So if you don't have graduated in mathematics, they don't let you even apply for admission in law. Another good example is that Arthur Cayley was a very good lawyer. When he crossed his swords with people at Oxford and Cambridge later on, he went to join bar at London, and he started practicing there. While he was working as a lawyer in London, he produced some 250 research papers, and of course It's not the number, it's the quality of the papers of Arthur Cayley that I'm referring to. Please don't misunderstand me that I'm trying to understand, appreciate the number of paper he produced. I'm not doing that. I'm simply saying is that he was a good lawyer as well. Why? Because mathematics is not about calculations. It is not about equations. It is about having an ability to see patterns, to develop analyticity, to have within ourselves ability to see things that others perhaps cannot see. We can appreciate proportionality better than anybody else. We can appreciate symmetry better than anybody else. We have the ability of proportionality. We have a better sense of approximations. And these are all qualities that one needs to be a good human being. This is one side of the story. But the other side of the story is that our government, our governments, and our people, they cannot understand that mathematics is not about remembering few sums, that those who remember perhaps a sum of 19, they consider him or her a better mathematician than that who doesn't remember a sum of 19. Sum table. हाँ जी?
Table of 19.
Tables वही ना, sums ही होते हैं ना, sums होते हैं, tables, sums. Basically addition होते हैं. Instead of saying 19 times 2, you say 19 plus 19. So this is the state here. And yesterday's example is before you. So when I've been going through this sort of a depressive moods off and on when I see ill treatment to mathematics, and more depressing when it is done by our own people who can perhaps understand a little bit of mathematics. So I wrote this piece for a seminar at that forum, which I'm going to share with you because I have got an opportunity to speak and share with you. I read one book by Jawaharlal Nehru, the first Prime Minister of Pakistan, of India. He, before 1904, I think, he was jailed and he was prisoned at Ahmednagar Fort for 5 months, from April to September, just 3 years before the partition. During that period of 5 months, he wrote a book, which is a famous book, well-known book. And I was surprised to see that he had about a chapter on mathematics in India. Now, Prime Minister Nehru, though is a very well-read person and a very good writer and a Prime Minister of high caliber, he had the knowledge that even many mathematicians perhaps don't have nowadays. So look at the man who is not at all mathematician, writing almost a chapter on mathematics and saying those things which were very inspiring. So I started pondering over that and then tried to compare the things with what we have in Pakistan. And this is what I came about. This was my, this is the second one? Okay, go to the second. The book is this one. Previous जाइए, previous. Oh, ये कौन सा? आगे है? Okay, but next one. Mathematics, as I understand, is in ancient India was highly intellectual and given to abstract thinking as they were. One would expect the ancient Indians to excel in mathematics. Europe got its early arithmetic and algebra from the Arabs, hence the Arab numerals, etc. But the Arabs themselves had previously taken them from India or from Greece. The astonishing progress that the Indians had made in mathematics is now well known, and it is recognized that the foundations of modern arithmetic and algebra were laid long ago in India. This is what Mr. Nehru says. The famous writer Danzig is puzzled at the fact that the great mathematicians of Greece did not stumble on this discovery. is that the Greeks had such a marked contempt for applied sciences, leaving even instruction of their children to slaves? But if so, how is it that the nation that gave us geometry and carried this science so far did not create even a rudimentary algebra? Is it not equally strange that algebra, that cornerstone of modern mathematics, this is what Prime Minister says, also originated in India and at about the same time that positional numeration did? Look at the knowledge that this man has and the appreciation he has. He's trying to say that Greeks were not as good as Indians are in trying to understand the even basic mathematics, algebra. So he has a sense for understanding the abstractions in mathematics. We can disagree on a number of things because he obviously was trying to say that all that happened was in India and nothing happened in the north of India at that time, which now is mostly is Pakistan, because the Indus civilization developed from this part of Indian subcontinent, and it came down from the hills towards south. So he should have given some credit to the north. Most of the universities he has mentioned, or the centers of excellence that he has mentioned in his book, are basically from north. We will see that in a short while. But I'm not trying to give you an impression that I'm all in agreement with what he has said. What I want to say here is that look at the man who has nothing to do with mathematics, but he can give his opinion, some of which is very legitimate and very impressive. But then what we have on our side, that even mathematicians don't understand these things, some of them, of course. Can you please? This is a very important sentence for me. He says that we must assume that these momentous inventions were not just due to the momentary illumination of an erratic genius much in advance of his time, but that they were essentially the product of the social milo. This is very important. The nations who excel in science in general